how much AI is being used as a tool, as a, let's just say, research companion at this stage for your area. Graphene, of course, is one of the areas you're so well known about, and new materials. Tell me more about that.
Well, it's clearly a new tool, and it's a new tool in our instrument box, and it has been proven quite useful for many areas. So there is no point of debating that it can produce it can increase our productivity quite dramatically. Now, and that's one of the points. That's one of the things which we would like to use, and we are applying it for a variety of different sectors in my area. So we try to design new materials using AI. We try to predict the behavior of complex materials using AI. The big question, of course, whether we will develop AI up to the point that it will completely replace myself and my fellow colleagues as well. I don't really know. I'm not afraid of that. If it is the fate of science, it's going to be the fate of science. Though I don't think it will ever do this. So these days, of course, graphene was the first two-dimensional material. It's only one atom thick, and yet it has many fantastic properties, and it's really changed the way how we think about materials, but it also went into many applications. China is leading the way here, so it's the largest producer, manufacturer, and user of graphene. So it goes into your batteries, into your mobile phones, into many areas these days. But these days we are really getting much further, and we try to create artificial materials which didn't exist before. Graphene is being part of that platform. And even further, we try to make our materials not static, but being active materials. So they behave almost like biological systems. They can respond to the environment, to the changes in the environment. They can change their properties. They can adapt somehow. And those such complex materials are very difficult to even describe, but let alone create using our traditional methodologies. So we're really increasingly trying to apply AI for those developments. I should say that it's still a slow progress. It's a complex task, even for AI. So we need to design much more complex AI methodologies for that, but lots of people are working on this. So after the success of ChatGPT, everyone thought that it will be that AI now will change completely all the other areas of technology and science. It's not happening. It's much slower than people hope to have, but for me, it's a normal scientific process.
Yeah. One is about AGI, whatever that means, right? There are different interpretations of whatever AGI means, whether it had consciousness or not, and things like that. There's another direction which is about commercial success, and in the stock market, the AI stocks are going up all the time, except recently. Meanwhile, you also have societal debates about what exactly is going to be the role of AI vis-a-vis all of us.
AI is a new technology, and AI has proven itself useful, so it is going to be used in the future. There is absolutely no doubt about this. How overheated are the stocks on AI? Or, I mean, okay, plus minus 50%. You and me, we don't need to discuss it. I'm sure some people will earn money, some people will lose money. I mean, overall, in the long term, it's going to grow. That's for sure. So I'm sure that, I mean, don't take me. Just to take me with a pinch of salt, don't invest immediately into any AI stocks, but I'm positive that it's a useful technology. It's going to grow with time. Is there a danger? Is there social danger with it? Well, unfortunately, yes. Some people are going to lose the jobs, but overall, I would say new technology is typically known to create more jobs than people
Can you
losing
imagine?
jobs. It's inevitable, and frankly, any new technology would do this. When computers appeared, or before that, when electricity appeared, so of course many jobs has been lost, but even more jobs has been created. I'm very positive that we will have similar trend with the AI.
Tell me more about where we are in terms of our potential of developing materials.
Well, that's first of all, we need to realize that materials are very important for us, for the developments of human being, and the reason why we have quite a reasonable computational power, for example, because we bet on silicon and we know everything about silicon. Silicon is one of the best studied materials, but at the same time, you could see that some technologies get obsolete and sometimes they become so complex that further development becoming more and more costly. So we need to keep an open mind for new materials, for new opportunities, and always look over for those. And we were thinking, what kind of future materials do we want to see? And clearly we need those materials which are becoming more active and probably produce better biotic, as we call it, like human interface. Of course, you heard a lot about reading the data directly from our brain, like Neuralink, and communicating with machines on a more lower level. So we need those active materials which act almost like biological systems, and it's extremely difficult to create because we don't know what is life itself, but we try to design our materials on the principles, on such principles where how biological systems are created. Again, it's no one has done it properly up to now, but we need to pose this question and start somewhere.
You have been experimenting, by the way, about that, how the biological system actually works and how can we have materials resembling that. Some materials, as biological materials, were harmed. It's likely to recover and grow back. So you're working on that. That really reminds me of the movies that we have seen, science fiction particularly. How far are we from there? What are some of the most important steps you are already discovering lately?
Most of our discoveries are very difficult to predict. The only way we can guarantee more or less a discovery is that we set a very ambitious goal and we try to reach it, and on the way we discover something new. You don't know what you're going to discover. You will discover something new. So we have good progress in understanding of those active materials and functional materials. Whether our final goal will be this robot from the Terminator 2, I don't think so. I'm sure that on the way we will discover something very different and we will have very, very different machines, but at least we need to set up ourselves a very ambitious goal. And to be honest, we're still at the very, very, very beginning, because even you need to realize that when we talk about biological materials, we have no idea what biological materials are. We don't know how our own body operates. We don't know how our brain operates. So it's the goal is very, very fuzzy by itself. Mm-hmm. So, but at least we know some basic physical principles where they are, and we're trying to achieve those.
Yeah. If we are far from there, at least we have something. Graphene, for example.
Graphene is a very, very simple material. It's only one layer of carbon atoms. It's one layer of graphite. But prior to us working on this, everyone, including ourselves, believed that graphene cannot exist. So we didn't know anything about this material. The only thing I knew for sure that it shouldn't exist. And yet, so with a very, it came from a simple inspiration, so this Scotch tape. So you take graphite, which is a lead material, and you start splitting it using Scotch and many times, and eventually when you split it thinner, you split it twice thinner, then do it again, and twice thinner, and do it again, and eventually you get to a monolayer, which surprisingly worked. And to our shame, I mean, these days we have many other ways how to produce this material. So China is one of the largest, it's actually the largest manufacturer of graphene.
Yeah, but this is what the Nobel Committee described this material in their remarks about you. It is incredibly thin, but still incredibly strong, good heat and electrical conductivity, almost entirely transparent, yet very dense. A lot of the descriptions I saw in very different entities about this material, but one might wonder, you can just dismiss it as say, oh, there are so many new materials that you can use that have the similar quality. But at the time when you discovered it, it was after strenuous efforts of generations. So how did you came up with that idea, the Scotch tape?
Well, that's it's a bit of a long story, but it's...
Let's cut it short.
Okay, 2 minutes. So it really stems from the special way of doing science which existed in our lab, which was set up by my colleague, my teacher, and my friend Andrei Gaim, so who created this style of work called the Friday evening experiments, that we do some crazy things out of the major major scope of our work, away from the mainstream. And if it works, it's great. If it doesn't work, you haven't wasted too much time. And we try to take graphite and polish it and make it thinner, make it monolayer by many different ways, and it didn't work, and we almost forgot about this. Mm-hmm. But then one day we needed to clean graphite for some of our other experiments, and taking the Scotch tape and pulling away the top surface of graphite is the standard procedure. Just usually people just throw the Scotch tape away, but because our brain has been in this mode, just thinking how to produce monolayer, it became immediately obvious. So just 2 and 2 came together, and within literally like a couple of hours, we had our first devices, and that's how we started.
That's after how many years of efforts?
Well, it's been maybe like a few months of efforts, with many other ways, and you almost forgot about this, right?
Yeah. Did you ask at that time, why didn't I think about this earlier?
Oh, that's the strange thing, how your brain works. That it quite often happens that the discoveries and good ideas are triggered by something. You walk around thinking about this problem for weeks, nothing comes, and then in your dreams it comes there.
Mm. Luck?
Definitely. So some certain serendipity should be there in the scientific research. But you see, you cannot rely only on luck. If you don't work hard, doesn't matter how lucky you are, then it won't come to you. You really need to work hard. You know this joke about a man who was praying to God, just give me, make me to win a lottery, and he was praying months after months for that, and then one day God comes to me, bloody hell, you have to buy the lottery ticket at least. So if you want to win, you really...
That's a very specific God, by the way.
Well, if you want to win, you have to work very hard. Luck doesn't come to those people who don't work.
But it's not just luck, right? I mean, so much effort has been put into this since the material was being developed. And it has been developing in so many different directions. What is the most exciting outcome that you have seen so far?
It's been the fantastic community of many scientists across the globe, from US to China and Europe and Singapore, and we saw so much fantastic science, first of all. I would say the way it changed science and the way it changed the way how we make experiments on quantum materials, on topological materials, really changed dramatically. So now it's one of the most exciting and interesting direction of research, but also in the applications. So of course, most of graphene goes into the batteries, so into electric vehicles. Yes. A huge amount goes there. Every single mobile phone which is produced in China now use a lot of graphene, but we see some less conventional applications. So it goes into the healthcare, for example, for drug delivery, maybe, or for the to read signals from your brain. So it goes into telecommunications to make our 6G, internet, 6G is another one. So it changes the way how we communicate on many different levels.
Did you ever think about that?
Oh no, of course. So even when we created graphene, so people start talking about possible applications, and I was very skeptical. Come on, we really need this Scotch tape, and we produce minute amount of this material. What kind of applications are you talking about? And yet, five years later,
like
they were already.
Yeah. But is this going to be in the same logic as AI? Do you think?
You would see that you see that AI.
Overexcited.
I'm not skeptical about AI. I know that it's going to be used as a tool for sure. It has proven already useful, extremely useful in many areas. I mean, can be in a bad sense useful, like it's changed the way how we translate text, right? So,
it's already linguistics.
But of course, linguistics. There is a brilliant field of mathematical linguistics, and they are suffering because they're a little bit losing. I mean, those are brilliant people, and I love mathematical linguistics. But in terms of the practicalities, I still think we need to understand the structure of our brain, so of our language and our brain, which are related much better. But of course, the applications of ChatGPT is on a completely different dimension. Which changes our attention towards those dimensions.
It's very important to ask this question. It's not just because we are now facing, it's not just AI, it's quantum computing, it's new materials, it's a lot of things going on. So there can be overhype of a lot of things, there can be underestimates of a lot of things, and there can be lack of imagination or over-imagination about how they are going to interact with one another. So I really wonder, is there methodology, or is there certain logic that we have acquired or developed through hundreds of years of science that would help us at least a little bit right now?
That's a very good question, and what I like about science, that it has this ability, which is, I don't know where it is coming from, but it has this ability of self-healing, that all these hypes and all this underappreciation, I mean, there is lots of fraud, for example, in science, but science manages to self-clean on a longer term, on a longer perspective. I don't know how it does, but it's basically something which was set up by Bacon many centuries ago, who set up the principles of experimental science, and we keep those, and surprisingly, it works.
If science is only, to a certain extent, also coincidence of some sort, then what is the standard that we can apply? I mean, when it comes to assessment of AI?
Science is not a coincidence. I believe that science is real, and the scientific knowledge are real, that the world around us is real. It might not be true, but at least that's, so far we have nothing which would prove against this. But the amount of knowledge which we can generate about the final truth, the world around us. That's what we call science, the process of gaining this knowledge. Now you can ask whether it is completely our efforts or maybe nature give us this amount of knowledge, then drops it to us, and maybe it drops it to us only when we are ready to know that. So it's a self-developing process, and whether we are objects or subjects in this process, it can be debated.
You were originally coming from former Soviet Union.
Correct.
And then you moved to Europe to research, and you later, after decades of hard work, became a Nobel Laureate. You're someone who has demonstrated how cross-cultural a background can work for a scientist. Tell us how that works. Especially now, we are also seeing some very similar phenomena compared to decades ago, right? During the Cold War, there were intense competition, lack of trust, while at the same time, technologies are racing. Can you help us to understand how the technology part works with all the other components of our society from a personal perspective?
Well, even in Soviet Union, it wasn't that bad. So the scientific exchange was there, even to some extent, technology exchange, maybe sometimes through espionage, I don't know, but at least, at the very least, the scientific exchange is absolutely essential. And in my area, we've been working with many people of different nationalities living in many different places. So it could be, I don't know, Spanish living in UK, Chinese living in US, American living in the Netherlands. So just you could, so there were scientific world learned to navigate through this. There are excess even in scientific world. It's a bit ugly what is going on right now in the Middle East, for example, with the boycott of the Israeli scientists. But so I really think that we need to make a little bit that scientists are designed through this sense of the share of knowledge, a little bit above all that. So it's the Humphrey Davy back in the beginning of the 19th century, accepting prize from Napoleon, exactly said that science is there to unify people against the malicious behavior of their governments. So. But of course, you're right. So the technology race make it difficult sometimes. I don't know what's the solution here. Yeah. So the only thing that we've seen those cases before, and we somehow managed to go through. Challenges are definitely larger than before. I do believe that we are going to go through. How, I have no idea. Yeah. I wish I would tell you how we're going to do it, but I don't have.
Scientists are well known for competing with one another and also cooperating with one another.
Oh yes.
Is there something as a scientist that you can share with the others? For example, politicians.
Oh, that's the nature of science, that yes. We put our little pieces of puzzles into the same box, and then at certain moment it overflows. Where it's going to overflow, very difficult to predict. Where the next discovery is going to happen in Europe, in US, in China, in Singapore, we don't know. But everyone needs to be proud because we contributed with our knowledge into this box. Well, hopefully it's the same with the technology, because we need to realize that technologies are not just created out of nowhere. It's the intense work of many different people, and believe me, in every single technology developed in US, there are contributions from Chinese scientists. Every single technology created in China, there are contributions from the European scientists. Indeed. Because we all exchange our ideas all the time. So I don't have the particular the panacea. Yeah, that's a good word here, and don't have a recipe, but I'm still optimistic.